Welcome to the Wisdom Check by Tabletop to Keyboard. This is going to be our bi-weekly podcast where we discuss things such as Dungeons and Dragons. Actually, I think maybe we need to turn up my mic a little bit, guys. How about some more game? More game. This is the Wisdom Check. This is the intro to end all intros. Talk about Dungeons, Dragons, and
Now, I don't think that's proper. This is a family show after all. This is the intro we can use, fellas. It's good, clean fun for everyone. Welcome to the Wisdom Check, where we have wholesome conversations about the dilemmas we face every day.
Nah, hold on a second. I got your intro right here. Yeah, that's better. Welcome to the Wisdom Check. When I'm right, Jeff's wrong, we're going to have guests on to talk about it. It's going to be awesome. Because I said so.
He is right. He did say so. I don't know. Is surf music the best music for a podcast about D&D?
Fuck yeah.
Okay.
This just in, nobody can agree on our intro for this podcast. So we're just going to start. Welcome to the Wisdom Check. Roll for initiative. Fuck. A 1. It's like every time.
Welcome
Oh
to
my god.
the Wisdom Check. I am Jeff, as always. I'm joined tonight with Levi. He is with me subbing in for Dustin. Dustin's down in Florida. And
Evening, everyone.
that's going to be great. And guess who we have to bring on the show for you? That is the legendary artist, Larry Elmore, who's responsible for so much of the artwork that goes into Dungeons and Dragons and, just our appreciation of the hobby. So thank you so very much for joining us tonight. We appreciate you.
Sure, thank you.
A lot of you that play, if you played any of what editions of artwork did you start laying out D&D's artwork for?
Second edition.
Yeah. So if you have a second edition book, I had the Rules Cyclopedia, I had the Player's Handbook, the DMG, Unearthed Arcana, like all those. I've seen Larry's artwork. It defined the aesthetic for me for how the game looks my entire childhood. So this is trying not to fanboy out.
Definitely.
Thanks for coming on, Larry.
Right?
Sure.
Larry, when did art start for you?
As far back as I can remember, just about. I'd say probably 3 years old.
Nice.
Well, a couple of things. I'll give you a little bit of history. I was born in 1948, so that was only 2 years after World War II. And my dad had contracted tuberculosis from World War II and didn't know it until he got to feeling so bad and they found out. So at that time, tuberculosis was a bad killer disease. And so he would be gone for like 8 months to a year, off and on like that, to most of my childhood, up till I was around 9 years old. And so the only money we had was just a little pension from the government because his sickness was related to World War II. So I think we got like $60 a month. And we lived in a little, Mom and I lived in Kentucky, rural area, just sort of the center of Kentucky, close to Mammoth Cave.
Oh, awesome.
And so we live in a little 4-room house, no running water, no electricity. That's sort of normal back then if you lived out in the country.
Yeah.
And so there wasn't a whole lot going on, It wasn't television. We didn't have radio. Transistor radios hadn't been invented yet or anything. So Mom would read to me a lot. She was a good singer. She could sing. Mom was a really pretty woman. She's still alive. She's 90.
Oh, wow.
Oh my
And,
gosh!
amazing.
Congratulations.
Dad died last year at 94, so
Yeah.
they both lived long lives. But anyway, we didn't have any paper to draw on much. Well, we didn't. Mom had one little pad of stationery. She would write Dad letters,
Mhm.
and I couldn't use that because it was expensive.
Right.
And so either one of my uncles would come by and take her to a grocery store once a month, little old country grocery store, and she'd get 4 bags of groceries, and they put them in a paper box, in a cardboard box. So she would take those grocery bags and cut them where they lay flat, and I would draw every inch of those grocery bags up.
God, that's awesome.
And I'd be on the dining room, not dining room, we didn't have a dining room, the kitchen table, under a kerosene lamplight. This sounds like an Abraham Lincoln. This sounds like an Abraham Lincoln story, but it's true. I mean, I was drawing it. You couldn't draw much in the summertime, in the daytime, because the house was like 100 degrees because no air conditioning, no fan. So we stayed outside most of the time during the day, and then at night it'd cool down and stuff, and I'd draw until I had to go to bed. And we kept that routine up for, I guess, a couple of years, 2 years. Well, I think the first tablet I got, actual tablet, is when I went to first grade. And I was 5 years old, and it was a one-room country school. And the teacher was a big, mean-looking woman. And I saw her whip some of the older 8th graders with that big, long pole. And so I was a good kid. Scared me to death. And I was that was the first time I had a tablet. And
We're saying chalk.
wait a minute, my wife just come here looking for something. Okay, 8 o'clock. Okay, this is the first time I had a tablet of my own. So in the first grade, she was teaching 8th grades, or 8 grades. So she'd spend about 30 minutes with the first graders in the morning, and then she wouldn't get back to us until the afternoon. Of course, you sit there and you didn't say a word the whole time long. There wasn't a sound made except her voice. And so I'd get my tablet out, and I started drawing. And here I was. I look back now. No wonder my mom got upset. But I love women, even when I was 5. So I was trying to draw naked women in my tablet because nobody would look at you. Nobody was walking around like school today. Everybody stayed in their own seat. So I was total privacy. All I do is watch out for her if she walked by. So this goes on for like the first 2 weeks of school. Man, I just drawing women, and I didn't know that much anatomy. But back in those days, women breastfed a lot. So I'd witnessed, 17-year-old women was married, had a child, or 18. Pull the breast out and breastfeed a child. Well, I was like, oh my God. So I can draw boobs pretty well. So anyway, I ran out of paper. And one evening she said, get a clean piece of paper. We were doing the alphabet. And I'm like, I don't have any paper, any clean paper. She said, well, why not? You should have. No. She gets up and walks over, grabs my tablet and starts flipping through it. Wait, she like had a heart attack. She takes it away from me, goes up and writes a big note for me to take home to my parents. But I thought maybe she was saying how much of a good kid I was or something. But obviously it wasn't that. So I remember my mom and dad sitting at the kitchen table looking this note over and looking at me and shaking my head like, what do we do? So Dad took me to school the next day. And so he was standing, she sat down at her desk, he's standing behind her, and the whole school's there, the whole room's full. And she's going through my tablet. Dad leaned over his shoulder looking at it. There was while he stopped at certain pages, they both look at me and they look back at my tablet. And do all the other kids know what's on that tablet? Away. They probably burnt my tablet. But anyway,
oh my God.
I was rationed paper for the rest of my first grade. And I didn't draw another girl until I was 9 years old. And then they got worried. They thought they messed me up some way. My parents did. I remember them talking one night. So next day, Mom comes and said, you can draw girls. You can draw like a mother and a sister and stuff. And I thought, well, that's what I was doing.
That's good.
And I think he's worried, but I was afraid to draw. I was done drawing women too bad. And then one day when I was 9 years old, I was playing in some old hard packed dirt under a shade tree.
Mm-hmm.
Found an old rusty nail, and on that packed dirt, you could draw in it.
Oh yeah.
So I drew a naked woman, Wow. So I still got it. So I wiped it all clean and moved over to another. I bet I drew up half an acre of dirt that day, just showing the cut of it. And that's about from 9 years old. I never stopped. The women was my favorite subject matter.
Oh my God.
Oh man, that's great. Well, I guess that makes sense how you got into heavy metal.
Yeah.
So what was the path like going from early art into the professional world for you?
Yeah.
Oh, huh. Well, didn't see much of a change, really. I mean, after I got out of college, I was drafted within 30 days. And during Vietnam, but I ended up spending 1 year at Fort Knox as an illustrator. I was, while I was in the military. And then my second
have you illustrating in the military?
Yeah, there was all these how-to magazines, FM, so-and-so, all these books, the Army training manuals for everything.
So you're drawing diagrams of little figures doing things.
Yeah, mainly Fort Knox was a home of armor. Mm-hmm. And so it was all armor, tanks. And so they found out with Vietnam, their training was all wrong. So all your army manuals and everything for all types of fighting was based on European type warfare, like World War II.
But not jungle.
Vietnam was jungle warfare. So they had to redo things, rethink things, new manuals. And also there was new equipment, a better tank. Mm-hmm. And so I got assigned there to work, and they liked my work real well. And they said, when you get out of the Army, come here and we'll give you, you'll have a job. We'll hire you. And so that's what I did when I got out. But I at one time, while working there, I could draw all the American tanks from the M60 to M60A1, A2, the personnel carriers, both types. I could draw the T-55, T-62, T-55, all the Russian tanks from memory. The Soviet personnel carrier from memory. Wow. All the handguns and AK-47 and M16s, all from memory, and all the helicopters. Except the new Russian helicopters, they were so crazy looking. We started trying to draw those right before I left. But I could do the Cobra and the Scout, the Huey, all from memory. And it was sort of neat. I mean, I hadn't done any inking in college or anything,
Right.
And so when I worked there, everything was done in ink. And so I really learned how to use pen and ink. And that was a great lesson for me. I worked there for, I guess, 7 or 8 years. Mm-hmm. And while I was working there, I got up to a GS9, which back then was really good money. And I bought a new home, and my wife had a job at City Hall here in a little town. And we were doing okay. And then I started getting published a little bit. And but the thing of it is, when I worked at Fort Knox, the time zone splits our state of Kentucky. And the time zone runs right down the side of our county. So where I live, I'm on Central Time. Where I worked, I was on Eastern Time.
Oh my God!
So
I can relate. We're from Paris, Illinois.
I had to be at Fort Knox at like 7 in the morning. Well, that's 6 in the morning here. But I rode in the vans, but it's like 50 miles away, 55 miles away.
Oh,
so
early morning.
I had to get up at 4 o'clock every morning. I'm not a morning person. I hate this job. And then at night I would paint till midnight. And then I try to get 4 hours sleep, and I did that for about 8 years, just 4 hours sleep.
God.
And well, I sort of kept that habit up until the last 5 or 6 years, or 7 years, I guess. It's about 4 or 5 hours sleep a night. Then I started getting freaking old, so I decided, well, I better get a little bit more sleep. Don't want to die too young.
Wow.
So we
go
got
ahead.
a question. Actually, from the host that would be sitting in my spot tonight.
Okay.
Once you started working for TSR, how much direction were you given about what any particular creature or thing is supposed to look like before they gave you free reins to just go?
Well, at first, okay, the weird thing, and I didn't find out what had happened until about 3 years ago. All the artists that worked at TSR that had been working there, Earl Otis and all those guys, they were gone. I come up there, and there was two, Jim Holloway and Harry Quinn was the only two that was left, and I didn't know what had happened. They'd fired them or what. So I'm working, and they just said, if you have any questions, ask Jim Rosloff was our boss. Said, ask Jim, and if you don't know how to draw something, look at the Monster Man. Well, the first time I had painted a dragon, it wasn't very long after I'd been there. It was I think the first dragon I painted there was Endless Quest book cover. It was a frost giant on the cover.
Oh, okay.
And a dragon, a white dragon. And so, I forgot the name of it. But anyway, so I got the manual out and looked. I started looking at all the dragons, the Monster Man. I don't like any of these dragons, But I'd never painted a dragon either. I'd painted warriors and castles and barbarians, but I never thought about painting a friggin' dragon. I don't know. Fantasy wasn't like fantasy is today.
I think I'm looking at it. Was it called Mountains of Mirrors?
Yeah, that was it. Mountain of Mirrors. Yeah.
Okay. This is awesome.
And so I thought, man, I don't want to always paint dragons like in the Monster Man. And then pretty soon, I'd known Jeff Easley. I'd met him before I went to work at TSR. He's from Kentucky as well. But we had a mutual friend I worked with at Fort Knox. And so I'd met Jeff, and a bunch of us had gone to a con together. First con I went to was in Louisville called Rulebook. Then that was in the 70s, late 70s. And so Jeff had gone to New York trying to survive as a freelancer, and he was married and had a child, having to go. And then when I was hired at TSR, then we got in contact, and I said, they'll hire you. I know they will, because they were looking for new artists, fresh artists, but they've been, well, I guess, I don't know if they asked, well, there wasn't that many fantasy artists back then anyway.
Right,
what few there were was probably, doing their own thing or doing covers and stuff, book covers. And to take a chance with a new upstart company like that'd been risky, and they wanted us to move to Lake Geneva, Wisconsin. They want us in-house. And I told them no. I wasn't going to do it. Because, like I said, I just had bought a new house and everything else. And, well, they even flew me and my wife up there to look at the company, and it was scattered all over Lake Geneva, different buildings. And I was 31 years old, and I was one of the oldest people there besides Gary Gax and a couple more.
Wow.
It was like all kids. I thought, am I going to put my future with a bunch of kids in this game? I'd played D&D once before I'd been there. And I thought, well, the game was the greatest game I ever played in my life. I couldn't believe it.
Yes.
But we played at work, but the boss made us quit because our lunch hour started running 2 hours long. So we had to quit. So I thought, but this game, I told my wife, I still told them no even after that. And then they called me up again and said, if our president of the company flies down to see you, would you talk to him? Or would you pick him up at the airport and talk to him? I said, yeah. So me and my wife talked about it and said, we're probably going to say no. And I said, well, the only thing, I think this game, the word going viral wasn't used back then. If you said viral, that meant a disease. But
Sure, yeah.
I think this game is just going to go all over the world. I really believe it will. I've never played a game like it. It's unique, and if you like fantasy or anything like that, this is great.
It's still the best.
So at least I was going to keep an open mind. So I picked him up at the airport, brought him home. Like all good Southerners, we fed him supper, and then afterwards my wife got some cake and coffee out. He got right down to business. He said, "What are you making right now?" And I told him. And I was sort of a little cocky, like, yeah, I'm making good money. This was in 1981. I was making $20,000 a year, so it was good money.
Yeah, that's good then. Yeah,
That's good money then.
And so he said, "We'll double it." I'm like, "Gee." I said, "My wife works." Real quick. What does she make? But he doubled her salary on it. I remember I was thinking, that's $65,000 or something like this. I'm like, holy cow. And I said, "I just bought this house." He said, "We'll take care of it. We'll buy it and sell it, or whatever."
Wow.
And I look at my wife. My wife's eyes big around quarters, and I had two little kids. My daughter was in the first grade, I think. Yeah, and my son hadn't started school. And I thought, God, and we're gonna uproot them and everything. But I just looked at my wife. She looked at me because she's the one that didn't want to move the most. Mm-hmm. Well, I was worried about it too because I thought Wisconsin was like Antarctica or Arctic.
Depends on the time, yeah.
Well, compared to Kentucky, it kind of is. Like, that's up there.
It can get that way sometimes. But anyway, so I said, I told him, I looked him in the eye, I said, "You just bought yourself an artist." So that was it. That was the best decision I ever made in my life. You know?
No kidding, man. That's an offer you can't refuse.
Yeah, it was. He made an offer I couldn't refuse. And well, I'm glad I didn't. Because it was. Well, what I was going to say, working at Fort Knox, yeah, it was like when I went to work up there, it was like the same condition. You had some illustrators there. Mm-hmm. I think Sullivan's was doing maps. Mm-hmm. And then there was, well, Jeff was hired. There's four of us as illustrators. Holloway, Quinn, Jeff, and myself. And we worked in a couple of rooms at the old hotels downtown. And but it was, and we had, and Jim Roswell was art director, so it was sort of a little shop situation. The good thing though is they would tell you, we need an illustration for this, and I'd do 2 or 3 drawings, whatever I wanted to do, and Jim would look at it and he'd say, "Well, this looks, like it would work or whatever." It was loyal to the product, mm-hmm. And so he'd say, "Go with it." So that was it. There's a lot of freedom. And I love that. The only time we got into trouble is doing black and whites for the modules. Mm-hmm. They always wanted fillers. They didn't want any blank space. So they want, they have a module, but they have like 6 or 7 fillers, okay?
Right.
So that means you can put some space to the bottom of the page or something. You need to put a little illustration in. Just a little pen and ink drawing. Mm-hmm. The only trouble is the editors, the words people. Here you got to do a drawing that's going to fit in an inch by 2 inch square or something like that. Okay, They want to drag and fighting an army or something. It's like, what? Even if I blew it up to the wide as my desk and drew it, you're going to take it down to inch. You couldn't see what it is. But those are the things with a pain in the butt. And finally, they quit making suggestions and let us do. And we talked about us doing like a vignette thing or just a face or just one object, not 15 people or something in there.
So you started, so you'd get approval based off a pencil sketch and then you'd get a green light?
Jim would give the green light, but it would run up to the chain of command somewhere and it'd usually come back green. I mean, there wasn't any changes. I know Jeff hadn't been there long, and he was doing a cover for Top Secret, and for the box cover of Top Secret. And so he had the painting like basically done. It was just the last day he's working on it. It's basically finished. And one of the editors come out, looked in there, the woman. I'm not sure which one it was, so I won't say anything. And she looked at it, she goes, oh my God. He put the girl in there. It was in the paint. She's in a mini skirt, not really showing anything, just a regular mini skirt, but it's red. She's, oh my God, that red mini skirt, that she looked like a slut. She just went off.
Wow.
I looked at Jeff. That never happened because Jim Miles had a habit. He had little wire rim glasses. He'd be pushing them up on his nose, when he's nervous or something, he'd push him up, push his glasses up a lot. And he was pushing his glasses up like, uh-oh, what I do, And then she went and got 2 more editors, and I think another one was a woman.
Mm-hmm.
I think both of them were women. Anyway, they come in there like, oh my God, like a slut, a whore, everything else. It's top secrets and spies and stuff. Look at James Bond, my God. And so they just had fits, and they said, you've got to change the color of the dress. At least, Jim said, he's not going to repaint that whole girl. We could do something. They said, well, change the color of the dress.
And that makes all the difference, right?
Well, they didn't say it. They said, repaint the dress. Repaint the dress. And Jeff, if you know him, he's really easygoing. He's like, well, okay. He don't say much. And so they all left. Of course, Jim walked around a while, still sweating it out. He didn't like what was going on. It was his art shop, and we all got along great. He didn't like them, but editors always seem to have more power than art directors and the artists. There's always words people telling visual people what to do. That's so stupid, but that's how it is. And
dynamic, yeah.
So I was sitting there, I was working on what I was working on, and Jeff, about like 15 minutes later, Jeff said, well, it's done. What do you think? I looked around, and he just took red and glazed. No, he took blue and glazed over the dress. With oils, you can glaze really easy. Mm-hmm. So it made the dress purple. And so Jim Roswell, he said, I bet they'll like that. But he added a few more words to that, like those so-and-so. And so we called them back in. Jim did. And they come in there, and all of them like, well, that looks a million times better. I like the way you repainted that dress. It looks totally different. It's not so short. It was just the color red. We just painted glazed blue over it. So we didn't say anything. We let them go, and they was all happy. Like, oh. That's probably the biggest thing I was so happy there. Most of the time, we had a lot of freedom. And then after a while, we had no art director. It's like, I had the most seniority then. And so me and Keith was the youngest one there. But Keith was like me, was a little businesslike, and we talked to anybody. We would fight for the whole department and everything. And so we sort of ran things, but basically everybody we would critique each other's drawings, Mm-hmm. What are you painting? Is something for so-and-so. Okay. But that looks like the game, If we saw anything look bad in a drawing, or even when it's painting it, something went right, we'd tell them. And so that bothers me. We'd take a second look, like usually. If you criticize, they were right. So, something you'd overlook. But it's a great place to work. Family. It's all like family. And it's great. It's great. It's magical. The whole place was magical.
Now, for Dragonlance, did you read all the books first, or were you given scenes to have to draw, or what?
Well, it's sort of weird. When Tracy Hickman got hired about 3 months or so after I did, he was it'd be a game design show. And because we didn't, there wasn't much of a writing staff. Just those endless quest books was the first he'd gotten into on writing, like books. And so Tracy had this big idea of this big epic story, which was Dragonlance. And he told Harold Johnson, and Harold was his boss at that time. He was head of books editing, and Harold told him, he said, "This is a great idea." He said, "But we can't work on it here because if we work on it here, TSR will belong to TSR. You won't get anything."
Right.
They'll have to be done at home, and but they decided they would make a presentation to the board of directors in maybe a few months, and about the whole idea. Well, they come over to my house. It was in the wintertime, I know. It was cold, but it was, shortly after Tracy had been there. And I had a studio in the basement, so they came out of the studio that evening, and we stayed there till 1 o'clock in the morning, and he told me, like, basically the first 3 books of Dragonlance. Okay. And there's more to it than was in the book. There was, they had to edit some out because the books were too thick, but he told me the whole story, and I'm like, oh my God, I love it. It's Lord of the Rings. And I'd read Lord of the Rings back then in college. Yeah. In the 60s. And I said, this is like, it's just an epic adventure. I love it, love it. I said, TSR's got to do this. And Harold was like, I don't think they'll want to do it. I said, well, why? I mean, my God, this is laying in your lap. He said, well, first of all, if we work on ours TSR, they will own it no matter what. And Tracy, this is his baby. This is Tracy's baby. And Tracy wasn't known as a writer at that time, just a game designer type. And so, let's see, they wanted me to do some art, some refs, so when they present to the board of directors, they have a little bit of visuals to show. I said, sure, I'll do it.
You were part of their pitch then.
Yeah. And then I kept saying, why doesn't Harold was really doubtful TSR would even use it no matter what. And I said, why? He said, well, there's only one fantasy role at that time. That was World of Greyhawk.
Right.
And Gary got a personal royalty off of that.
Oh.
And so this would be another world would come in to compete with Greyhawk. And Gary might not like that. And so it was like, finally Margaret Weiss got hired later that year, saying that would have been probably, I guess, 83, 82, later in 82 maybe. And so they finally did some work on it and stuff, and finally made a presentation to the board. And I think that was about 83 years, 80. And they decided to go with it. And but they'd done all the work at home, And so when TSR, they said to go with it, well, they was tickled, and I think TSR gave them a little royalty on it. They did that little royalty could end up big bucks.
Yeah, no kidding.
Seriously.
But
incredibly popular setup.
I love working on Dragonlance. So I was sort of like, I knew the story from the beginning, and I was sort of like the art director of Dragonlance, and we were, by that time, we didn't really sort of have a real art director. And so I just told the guys, it'll be big. I know it is. Since we don't have characters, we got all these characters, but we're not using models, so we can't, we don't pattern them. They got to be distinguishable when you look at the covers and everything, because we'll be doing a lot of art for this. I said, so we're keeping the same costume, like Batman, Superman, Spider-Man. They got a costume.
Right.
So whatever they're wearing, and whoever paints it first, the characters, many characters, check with Margaret and Tracy, and I said, see if they approve of the sketch or something, or to get information. Well, I did, but a couple of others didn't. And so I had to try to convince them that it was very important that they did. And Clyde, every time he paints a girl, it's sexy. Okay, Clyde paints. I don't care if she's a barbarian and in the jungle or in a bog and mud, she will have high heels on, boots or something. She's and so here he's painting Gold Moon. He hadn't read anything. They were still writing the book, but I did know enough about what they told me that I knew who she was. She was a a cleric, right? I'm trying to remember now. And so he paints her that scene where the Draconians had her tied, chained up or something, you know.
Mm-hmm.
That was like counter painting, and she looked like just a woman of the night, really sexy. Well, and I was working late. I worked late a lot, and I was sitting at my desk, and everybody else was gone. I was just on one art department. Margaret always would walk in and see what we're working on.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, oh my God, she's going to see Clyde's. And I already told Clyde it was he should have put clothes on, but Clyde wouldn't listen. He's doing it his way, okay? So Margaret comes up, looks at that painting, and she started crying, just boo-hoo. And I'm like, oh my God. I went over and talked to Margaret, and I said, I'll talk to him. I said, you know, Clyde, when I change, he'll fight it. And I said, I'm going to be doing it next. My next painting after this one, I was doing the Dragonlance calendar cover at that time. And I wasn't painting Goldman on the cover. I was painting the other characters.
Mm-hmm.
And so I said, I've got to paint her next for the book covers. I said, I promise you, I'll put boots on her. I'll put pants on her. You know, I said, I'll de-sex her. You know, I'll bring it down several notches. And, but I said, I can't change her totally because Clyde will throw a fit. You know, Clyde, I like Clyde. Don't get anything wrong. I love Clyde. But he was the only child. I think he was spoiled when he was young because he wanted his way. If he didn't, he'd get mad and throw a fit, man. So I didn't want to fight him. So I painted her a little bit more calm down. And Keith was, finally they had a manuscript we could start reading, and Keith jumped down and read it cover to cover. And then I don't think Clyde or Jeff either one Dragonlance. But I tried to stay on their butts. I read the first 6 books. There was supposed to be 3 books. And the books sold so much, they come back and said, we want some more. And they go, no, the story is done. It's a trilogy. It's done. No, if you don't get 3 people if you don't do 3 more books, we'll get somebody else to write it. Okay. So they wrote the next 3 books.
And that was the twins.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then they thought it's done. Well, everything was selling so well then, they said, well, we need more books, more stories. And it's done. We don't have any more. So then they started hiring outside writers to write stories like separate sections, like Draconians or like, I don't know, different parts and stay in that world.
That where it's like the prequel kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so finally, and Margaret and Tracy didn't write much more Dragonlance stuff after that for a long time, and then it was after TSR was sold to Wizards, and then what's his name? On Wizards, and he's TSR now, I think. Sure. Anyway, they wanted Margaret and Tracy to write a new novel. So they really wanted to write one, so Margaret agreed. Her Tracy, and there's going to be like 3 books, I think, and she tried to kill every old character. Oh, she did kill about every character there was because it was done. It was over. But then they started coming up with the sons and daughters of all the characters. So finally,
I read that series you're talking about.
Yeah, me too. Those are the first books I ever read.
I got it. I am part of the demand that made you work more. Sorry.
Well,
I think we may be getting a tour of the art studio here.
Oh yeah, I'm getting coffee, and for anybody that hasn't seen it, that's been a hole in the ceiling. That's where my son-in-law fell through there not too long.
Oh my God!
I said, don't always walk on the ratchet. I know. 3 seconds later, bam! I heard it, and turned around there, he fell through. God.
Oh no!
Anyway, we got to remodel the whole studio.
Oh my God!
Yeah, and I still got books left over. I can't hardly get rid of my book. and stuff.
It's fantastic.
And but yeah, Dragonlance was. I'm glad we all worked on it. I'm glad it came out like it did.
Mm-hmm.
It's great. It's great for all of us.
My personal favorite is Sturm's death with Gold Moon, or not Gold Moon.
Mm-hmm.
Lorana standing over him.
Lorana.
That's great.
Yep.
Here's
Here's
something.
Yeah.
Here's something I didn't think about when I painted that. See, we could do calendars, Dragonlance calendars. They put out several, and we were free to paint anything we wanted to, And Keith and I had read the story, so we were really picking out scenes, and we would tell some of the scenes to some of the other guys, pretty good scene, and so I love this when I read it when Sturm died and Lorana walked out there. I could see it in my mind. I thought, well, I'll do that painting, So I did. Great. It was in the calendar. Okay. Now, for the next 15 years, every convention I'd be at, I'd have prints for sale. And somebody would walk up and look at that particular print and go, "Oh my God, Gold Moon dies?" They just started reading the series. So I gave that away from like day one.
Oh, no.
That's fantastic.
I never even thought about it. Well, at that time, see, we thought Dragonlance was going to be a 3-year project. And that was it.
Yeah.
It's over. And so I just, we was painting the stories.
Yeah,
we wouldn't worry about giving anything away because we figured everybody's going to read it. It's already read it.
It's glorious. It's worth it. I don't care about the spoiler. The image is too good. My favorite part of that, hands down, is I know it seems strange or morbid, but Sturm's wound through the breastplate. That's glorious. I love that.
Well, I figured if he took a hit from a lance from a rider on a dragon, it had to have some serious impact. It had to go all the way to the hub.
Glorious. Glorious.
Oh, man.
So, we've established you enjoy painting women.
Yeah.
Is there any other particular stuff you've done in your field of work that you love painting this kind of thing? Like, that's where you're having a good time.
Well, I'll always paint fantasy because fantasy, and back then what I was trying to do when I was in high school and college, but fantasy was exciting to me. I grew up playing in the woods. We climbed cliffs, big cliffs with no ropes, no anything. I don't know how I made it alive through my childhood. And then I got 16. We was on the hot rods. And I didn't have much of a hot rod. I had an old plug 1949 Ford. I drove the heck out of it. So what if I didn't kill myself on that? But some other friends I had built some super hot rods. We'd drive them to the max thing. And just everything we'd done was just risk. But I guess most of my life was sort of an adrenaline junkie. I like that risk. Put your life out there. A roller coaster is not thrilling to me. It's boring in a way. It just jerks you around a lot. But it's like, it's safe. It's not gonna. Like Disney World, nothing's gonna happen because they've done everything in the world to make sure nothing's gonna happen. But when you take a car, like I got one right now, it's got 550 horsepower. The car weighs half as much as a normal car weighs.
Jeez.
And you hit it, and you take off. That car can go any right or left in a second, literally a second. You just holding it on the road is almost an impossible task. And then once you get it going out, it'll shoot up to 80, 90, 100 really, really fast.
Jeez.
And it's still light. It's still pulling. It's even. You can be doing 80. You can do about 70 miles an hour in fourth gear, and bring it down back to third, and floorboard it, and it'll start spinning. And you're doing 60 miles an hour. It'll break loose, start spinning. But those are real thrills because if you screw up, you could be dead.
True.
And that's how we did as kids. It was like there was real thrills, and that's what.
Oh my God.
Some of us was really stupid and done more of that than we probably should, but I survived. main thing. But that kind of art, that thrill, just led into fantasy art. And I love stories. I'd always have people back then, like when I was 5 years old people, I'm talking about really old people, like my age now. I'm 71. They had been born in the 1800s.
Yeah.
Wow.
So they had stories to tell about when they was kids. It was unbelievable the way life was. I remember my great-grandfather. I met him. Well, I remember seeing him a couple of times in business. And he was, I guess I was about like him, short and gray. He was gray, had a big handlebar mustache, wore an old gray fedora. But he remembered when he was a child, he remembered the Civil War troops coming home.
Wow.
Boy,
He died at 96 years old in 1955 or 56 maybe.
That's another 90 plus.
good genes.
And,
Yeah, congrats.
but anyway, but people told stories. Oh, that, like I said, back in the early 50s, most average people in that rural area didn't have a TV. A lot of them still didn't have electricity and everything. And so they'd sit around the fire in the wintertime around the old coal stove. Men would sit around it, keep the stove going good. Women sort of sit back in some rocking chairs and talk. Men would talk around the stove. I'd slide in back to the coal stove and listen to them. And the younger men would talk about World War II because it was fresh, new in their memory. Then after they tell their stories, which I took all of them, then the older guys was sitting there, and I was sort of real, back then a kid would be seen and not heard. You kept your mouth shut. You didn't interrupt the people. So I'd find a good gap, and I would say, anybody got any old scary stories like when you was a kid? And I have to do that maybe twice, and then when there'd be a lull in conversation, they'd about talked out, and I would start telling an old story. And that would spawn the other one. They would start telling stories, and I loved it. I used to know all the stories by memory. I know a few, but it was the storytelling part. It took you to another time, another place.
Yeah.
And in the woods, growing up in the woods, outside all the time, it was like a fantasy world, and you didn't know what was in the woods. I know when I was about 3 years old, I ran and told my mom there was a gorilla in the woods. I saw it. Well, there wasn't any gorillas in Kentucky.
Boy, though, being out by Mammoth Caves, you believe it, though. It's real wilderness out there.
Yeah, it is.
We're from downstate Illinois.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the funny thing is, you're like, I'm the art kid in my family, and my dad's a farmer, and he used to race motocross. And so, Dad, you're like a weird mix of me and my own dad. Like that's, that's fantastic. Oh my God.
I rode motorcycles. I rode trail bikes for years.
Oh my God. That's great.
Trying to climb mountains with the stupid things. I've still got a Harley. I had 2 Harleys, not 2. Sold one. And
fantastic.
But I've been trading around with old hot rods my whole life, trying to build up and get some good ones. I finally got a couple of pretty neat ones.
Nice.
That I'm going to keep.
Nice.
But all that to me, it's just part of fantasy art. So my art went to, I really like to paint exciting things. And back then, what was painting, it was you're going on an adventure. I like to try to tell a story, like the old storyteller would tell me. I didn't want to give away what happened, except I did give away Death of Stern. But other than that,
great shot.
But other than that, it's like we're setting off on an adventure.
Yeah.
And so I like my paintings to tell a story. I got a painting I just finished. Well, I got a little bit more work to it. I don't know.
I can't wait for this. Gotta make sure we show this, Clint.
I know. Can you see that?
Let Clint get the
hold on.
Over.
Let Clint switch his... Oh my God.
Can you see it?
Yes, we can.
Beautiful.
And the only thing fantasy in this is a dragon skull under the
nice.
Oh, yeah.
But I'm still working a little bit in here on it. I don't like it right now. But it's 99% done.
Larry, can you show us the commission next to it, or you can't?
Sure.
That's awesome.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah, we saw
Am I
this
far
earlier.
enough away?
Maybe just a little bit further back.
That's
Okay.
glorious.
There it is.
Larry, do
Perfect.
you mind talking about who this is for and why?
Yeah, I don't think he would care at all. So you guys for Joe Manganiello, the actor that's the big D&D player. This is his character.
That's
What's his name again? I forgot his name.
Arcan the
Yeah,
Cruel.
Arcan.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the planet or the world or dimension world or whatever is
It's Matt Mercer's.
no, it starts with a V.
Uh
And it's like a hell planet kind of thing.
oh yeah. Okay. I got you.
And so all this is just roughed in here. It'll have more of a reddish look to it all. This is not finished. The sky's not finished. And
Avernus
this tower belongs to him. So I had to get this tower.
Larry, does Avernus sound right? Something like that?
But yeah, it's Vernus. Yeah.
Yeah. That's actually going to be the new module, and they wrote Arcan into it.
Yeah, I heard about it.
So Joe got really excited that officially Arcan is now D&D canon.
That's good.
That's tremendous.
Well, it's a big painting. It's a 24 by 36.
Nice.
And,
Wow.
but I
Gives you a lot of room to play.
Time long. I emailed with him and talked to him to get it the way he saw it.
Sure.
And because I looked at a lot of other stuff of that same character, even miniatures and stuff.
Yeah.
And I said, well, I want to do it the way you see it. First time I was asking him how tall the guy. He said about 6'6". And I said, okay. And it's probably about how tall Joe is.
Yeah.
But,
yeah. Very close.
But anyway, so I kept drawing in different poses. And he wasn't liking something about it he didn't like. He wouldn't say it. It just wasn't suiting him just right. And I said, look, I want you to be happy. I'd drawn this character maybe 6 or 7 times, and I changed poses.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, when you did the old red, there was like magic in that.
Mm-hmm.
He said, I want him like that old red dragon. I want to feel that.
Yeah.
I said, oh, okay.
So we're talking about the red box, red dragon.
This is a red dragon, yeah.
Yeah.
He is red. And so I looked at the print of the red box, and the dragon there had his mouth open, and had his arms up,
Mm-hmm.
And so I just give it a little bit of that look without trying to look like it. And I redrew the body in that pose and sent it to him. He just loved it. If I can pull it off and paint it right, then really like it. It'd be great.
Fantastic, man.
That has to be truly just amazing being able to put
I
somebody's...
just finished a painting for a writer for Lucasfilm. And he's
really?
Yeah, he grew up in Pennsylvania. Talking to him, he played in the woods. And he said he started playing D&D. He knew he wanted to write adventures.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
When he was a kid, he wanted to write. He didn't tell me for sure, but he could have been a DM. He might have been writing adventures for him. And he played it all the way through school and everything. And he commissioned me to do a painting of his character. He's riding a red dragon. And I just got that finished about a month ago.
Jeez. Man, there's just so many tremendous pieces there. We were just talking...
Yeah, but here's the bad thing. Mm-hmm. I sold a lot of that stuff on Crew. I mean, you're a freelance illustrator, okay? So I made the bulk of the money. And so sometimes, you would get paid on time, or somebody wouldn't pay you for 6 months. All kinds of things go on like that. It's a rough life. And so I had to sell a lot of them to, just had to sell some of these paintings, and somebody offer you $2,000 or $3,000. Like, so God bless. That's great. Yeah, you want another one? Wouldn't go along with it.
But can't get too attached, right?
Because this was like I sold some of them right back. Quick as we painted them. I know Margaret's got the one of Raceland and Christiana. or he's got his arm around her.
Yeah. Oh,
I
that
sold
was
that to her.
great.
I sold that to her for $800.
Oh.
And she was Margaret. I mean, you know.
Oh my God.
Steal.
That painting right now, I know through the grapevine that they have offered her huge amounts of collectors. See, at that time there wasn't real collectors of fantasy art. Not really. There's only
that image is glorious though. He looks so insincere and sinister, and she looks so trusting. You nailed that, and that was great.
Well, Margaret. The other times I painted Raceland, Margaret always said from the very onset, she said, he's not a handsome man. And he's not, and read the books. He's also aggravating. If I was his brother, I'd knocked him in the head a couple of times, but anyway. So I would paint him the way I thought Margaret wanted. And so when it come to this, I had to paint this painting really fast. It cut my deadline time down because Dragonline was selling really well. And so every time you got to come up on your schedule of Dragonline's painting, marketing be in there and say, well, I need it tomorrow. Something like that.
No big deal.
You'd have a big fight, that would last for half an hour, and finally you'd buy maybe 4 or 5 days or a week out of it, And so you had to do some of those fast, especially the second set of books, it was always fast. And so I decided I'm going to paint Grayson the way I perceive him. Now that he's more mature and he's not depending on what's his name, his brother.
Caraman.
Yeah, Caraman. And so I painted him that way, and I couldn't believe it. Margaret loved it.
Yeah,
any of
that's
them,
a good one. That's a real good
so,
one.
well, you should let me paint him like I wanted to from day one.
Yeah, there's so much conveyed in that image right there.
Yeah,
Looking
that's
at it
a
right
heavy
now.
one.
It's just the facial expression is just perfect.
I think Clyde was the first one to paint his brother Caraman.
Okay.
And so, he painted him in a pretty, his outfit.
Almost like a Conan kind of influence.
Yeah,
right?
sort of like Conan or something. I wouldn't want to paint him that way. But anyway, he is a fighter. Well, he's left-handed. First time he's painted, I said, "Oh God!" I said, "You paint him left-handed," and he did. Well, so I'm like, what? Then we all got to paint left-handed from now on.
We all got. I love that you guys have this dib system.
And we can't be going back and forth, And so I had to paint him shortly after that. I painted him left-handed, and most fighters all train right-handed. You read history, right-handed, and so Clyde is about a year or so later. He painted him again. He painted him right-handed that time. I'm like, Clyde, we've been painting left-handed for a year now, and now you paint him again right-handed. Oh, well, I didn't think about that. Like, oh, God. So there's a few little slip-ups like that.
Oh, man.
It's adding so much character.
So you grew up in an era. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a gone era now.
Yeah. Well, my students now in high school, I teach them art, and I talk about how they have no excuses to not be able to look up any reference to help their photo because they have the entire world in their pocket.
Yeah, they got the world. Yeah.
So for you, what did you use as references for your artwork in your day? Like, how did you reference anatomy? What did you do? How did you look things up?
We made it up.
Nice.
With nobody.
Scrapbooks?
We started shooting a few models.
Mm-hmm.
At first, everything was made up.
Right.
And then we got thinking there's some pretty good good-looking girls working there and stuff. We're like, shoot, we could use some of them for models. So we would mainly pose for each other, Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so we got to use it. Well, they got 1 hour film development. That really changed the world for us.
Oh, yeah, that's huge.
Mm-hmm.
Used to, you'd have to take the film off, come back 3 or 4 days later and get it. Well, we couldn't. You had to, if we was going to have so you couldn't use reference. You couldn't wait. Then have
you got a deadline
before your photos got back. So then, about the time when I think when I first moved up there, somewhere right in that period, they started 1 hour developing. Like, oh my God, 1 hour developing. So I started using that, and we all did. I mean, you could actually take a picture, just somebody stand up from their desk and get in a pose, you snap a shot of them, and in 1 hour you can take 2 or 3 shots. You'd have something to help you out a little bit, speed things along, because, like I said, there's always one quicker,
Mm-hmm.
and so that helped a lot. And but we very seldom do we get to put anybody in costume or anything.
Sure.
We had no cape, and we traded some swords, some paintings.
Oh, that's great.
Yes.
Okay. So, Larry, you modeled for each other. Are you the model of a character we would know?
Ooh, good question.
I don't know. We modeled. A lot of people said that I look like what's his name? Dragonlance, the half elf main, the main star of the first book.
Tannis. Yeah.
Tannis. My hair was about that color then, and
wow.
and I had a beard, and so a lot of people thought I had Tannis, and then a lot of people thought Clyde, because Clyde was, but I had normal length hair. Clyde had longer hair, and his hair was about the same color as well. And so a lot of them thought I used Clyde, and I actually did use Clyde one time for Tannis.
Nice.
That's when he's all sitting on a campfire.
Is that the cover of
yeah.
the Dragonlance game box?
Yeah, I think it was. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
The blue is a night scene. Yeah.
Yep.
That is in my closet right now.
Well, I used. I see. Jeff Butler was Raceland and Caraman, both.
Oh my God, that's fantastic.
My wife was Tika, and that looks like my wife did.
Congratulations!
Nice. Yeah, no kidding.
And Tracy always said that my wife reminded him of Tika's, because my wife would fight you with a frying pan if she had.
Okay, I just want to congratulate you right there, because I had a crush on Tika. So thank you.
She was one of 9 kids. One of the older ones. She had to take care of a lot. They on a farm, and her dad worked, construction foreman, and also had a big farm.
Mm-hmm.
So they worked hard. They fought hard, and so my wife don't take any shit from anybody. She's a sweet woman. She's a sweet woman, but hey, I wouldn't fight her. God, she'd quit me probably now. And but she's a sweet woman. Don't get me wrong. But she's not really afraid to speak her mind, or if somebody gets out of line and set them straight.
Did you illustrate
like that?
Did you illustrate Tika with curly hair because your wife has curly hair?
At that time, she did. That was awesome. That was popular then. That curly hair.
Mm-hmm.
All women were doing curly hair.
Yeah.
And so I liked it. It looked good on a lot of women. So it was a style. I painted that, and I thought, well, I can't paint everybody's curly hair. And then finally, years later, somebody told me that I can always tell your paintings, your women's always got 80s hair. And there's 90s hair. I'm like, well, crap. I got to start changing the hairstyle. And it wasn't that I was doing it on purpose. It just, I guess in my formative years, or a little bit later on, when I was running around, all that in college, I was the women. Now I look at stuff I did in college, I can tell it was from the 60s. God,
yeah,
just look at the girls, you can tell.
But when you're an artist, it's kind of tough to see your own style sometimes.
It is. And so the paintings I've done lately, if the woman's in it, I try to just put loose hair, not any style, just loose, or something just different where they weaved a lot of stuff and put stuff or something like that. But I've tried to stay away from styles as much as possible. It's sort of hard because you're shooting a model and she's beautiful and her hair looks great, and you paint her like she is,
Yeah.
Then 15 years later, like, well, that looks sort of 1995-ish,
That's when I painted it.
That's
what kind of cool to have that kind of time capsule kind of thing to it, though. You get go back and just see a different slice of life.
Yeah,
that's cool.
Yeah, I didn't start using models much until I went freelance. I was doing a cover for Phantom Books, And that was Bantam Books, yeah. And so I did the paintings, and then they liked it.
Mm-hmm.
And they gave me another one to do, so I did a second one. And they liked it. And then the art director was a woman. She said, "Are you using models?" No. She said, "Well, I think you should use models. It would really improve." I'm like, okay. So the next book I did for them, I got models and did it all, And I sent it in. I didn't hear a word.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe it was the first two was like that. I might be one book too many here. But anyway, the next painting I did it was too much of a rush. I didn't use models. I made it up again.
Mm-hmm.
And that time I got a phone call back, and she said, "We was all looking at this new painting. She said, we really think your art has improved so much since you're using models." Well, they couldn't tell if I was using them or not. So I was like,
You got him.
And so lots of times.
That's fantastic.
And a lot of my covers, I made a lot of it all up, and I still make a lot of it from scratch. That's more of a challenge. I like it. But when you got a really beautiful model, it's like, well, take advantage of the situation, photograph her, and get her in a painting. It's like,
it sounds like a much better situation than my situation at home. Dad always had us be models when we were kids.
Yeah.
And, instead of taking a photo, he'd make us stand in these like crazy postures.
Yeah.
We had like the bowl on our head for the helmet, and holding like a dowel rod. And like, Dad, nobody could possibly stand this way. Like my leg is shaking out from underneath me. I'm like in the backyard hanging onto a tree. I'm like, oh, come on.
Yeah.
Just hold still. The lighting's perfect. Like, I hate this, Dad.
Now that I'm portable, I'll show you some stuff you might want to see.
Oh, awesome.
Of course we want to see it.
This is going to be fantastic.
I think my wife's already gone to bed. I'll turn a light on here. There's not a whole lot of light here. Can you see these?
Oh, yeah.
This thing there? That was a Dragon Magazine cover.
To your left a little
that
bit.
One up there.
Yeah.
That was a Dragon Magazine cover. That was
wow. Oh, my God.
And there's two up there, and the banner says it was a game cover. So I've got here, I show you a couple.
Man, it's tremendous.
Turn some lights on.
Jeff, we're in Larry Elmore's house.
This one, you remember that one?
Oh,
yes, boy. I love that one.
Yep.
This is what I did with my daughter when she was about 3 years old.
Oh my God,
nice.
That's great.
And then this is another Dragon Magazine cover.
Yep. Yeah. I remember that one.
And that was a book cover, but that was my daughter at 17. She lived in that one.
My God. That's awesome.
And on that wall was another cover.
Oh,
wow.
And there's some other stuff scattered around, but I think you need to. This is not like open house. Go up there, go upstairs. Walking around with a phone, looking at stuff. She probably so fit.
Watch out! She doesn't have a frying pan nearby.
That's right. Choose your battles, right?
And then we're in trouble. Yeah. But yeah, those are. I've kept a few over the years. Now I found out that they're all those old paintings. I wish I'd kept them because I could sell them now. I'd sell them again for a whole lot more money.
Gotta have some like serious paintings show up.
Oh, I was going to tell you a while ago. I said we didn't have any props back then. Nobody was making swords.
No.
You couldn't find swords.
No
and
way.
so we went to King Richard's Fair, I think, and around the border of Wisconsin. It was a Renaissance fair. Yeah.
Yep, Bristol. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it was Bristol.
Mm-hmm.
And
I was just there.
We met a sword maker down there. He made swords by hand. He forged them, everything. And he was selling the swords for $2,000 or $3,000 a piece. Well, we can afford those. Yes. And he was aware of D&D and everything. And the Dragonlance had just come out. Mm-hmm. And he'd read it, I reckon, the first book. And he said, but we were, working ahead a little bit. Well, at that time, we was working ahead a little bit. We was doing a counter. And he said, well, the first counter must have come out because he'd seen some Dragonlance. But anyway, he said, I'll trade you some of these swords for some of those Dragonlance paintings. So I traded Death of Sturm to a sword.
What?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Keith traded a bunch. I traded 2 or 3 more. This guy had the best Dragonlance collection at that time. And we all got these swords. Well, about 3 years later, there was swords everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
But we got real swords, but still yet they, now there's swords. But these were swords that was balanced and you could use them and everything. It was right. They weren't big replicas. They were real. But anyway, they're not. I remember my wife didn't read Dragonlance until years later. I was living here. We'd already moved back here and working. I was in here my studio painting one day. She's reading Dragonlance. She decided she'd read it. All of a sudden, she comes stomping in my studio. She was mad. She had her hands on her hip. What have I done now? She looked at me, give me the evil eye. If she had a frying pan, she'd hit me. She said, you traded Death of Sturm for a sword? I said, I didn't know it was going to do what it did, the Dragonlance. We didn't know. It was a 3-year project. It's over with.
That is amazing.
Jeez.
You could have got those back then really easy from us, I sold one to Tracy, the one that I'm all sitting around the fire, the camp.
Yeah.
I sold that original painting to Tracy for $1,000.
Man.
And
wow.
So there you go. You don't know what's going to happen.
That's like Margaret and Tracy. If they get a cheaper price, that's fair. That's fair. That's more than fair.
Well, like I said, there wasn't really any true collectors back then. Fantasy art was new.
Oh yeah, it's totally different now.
Yeah,
like
if somebody would give you a couple $100, $800,000, $2,000 for a painting, like I'll sell it. Go.
Yeah,
sure.
Yeah. Well, there's a guy who he's a concept artist that would come talk to my kids, and he got hired by NetherRealm to do concept art for the Injustice, the DC hero fighting game.
Yeah.
And he specifically was hired to do like objects. So Aquaman's trident he designed, and the Joker's little chattering teeth bombs. Anyway, he literally gets that project done, and like a year later, maybe a year, like the next major convention, he's walking the floor and he sees a giant real Green Arrow bow. And he walks up, he's like, I designed that.
Yeah.
He's like, that thing is my design. And they're like,
sure.
Thank you for that. Thanks for making this. So
most of the time they look you up and down and say, sure you did.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's like the turnaround time was nothing, because that's just everything is a thing now. You can get anything you want because somebody's going to make it.
Yeah. Now, the roughest time of my career was from about 98 up to 2008.
Really?
Yeah, and that's when everything was going digital.
Oh,
and I know I painted traditionally, and with digital, you don't have to fool with somebody shipping a painting in, and you got to go get it color separated. Then you got to take care of that painting to ship it back to the artist.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of hassle, and it was expensive too. You usually do 1-day FedEx stuff, and so digital art was a lot easier, and not much of a hassle. I mean, you can just send it to them, period. And so I'd sold paintings during that period. It was a little bit rough, and that was probably the roughest time of my career. And even then, there was hardly any collectors. I would sell when people I'd see at a convention and they really liked the painting. I'd price it to them, and I don't know, that might be too high. And so things get tight, I'd call them up and say, you're not painting? I'd talk them to give me, compromising between what they want to pay and what I want to sell it for. And make some money to keep us going. So a lot of those paintings saved their butts. It wasn't easy. But I guess what got me behind the 8 ball is we moved back down here and built this house. It's a pretty good house. It's 2-story, with a basement, a walk-in basement too on the backside. So it's like 3 stories on an 1.5 acre lot right on the edge of town. It was right now the house would be worth a lot of money, but I was stretching myself when I made payments. But I was working. Man, I was cranking out art. I was working, 16 hours a day.
Ooh.
And living off of caffeine, nicotine, and junk food. And and my wife kept saying, "You're going to die if you get healthier." And we moved in this house and was in here 1 year, and I had a stroke. And I couldn't paint.
Oh wow!
It affected my painting. I couldn't. It was like I knew what I was supposed to do in my brain, what I was trying to do, but my hand, it just wouldn't work because like a connection was lost. I took 3 months before it'd come back. And
wow!
But I kept painting, kept doing it anyway as best I could. Doctor told me use it or lose it, So
Right.
So he said, especially the next 3 months. So I painted crazy person, and it came back, and so that got us behind. So then we went a few more years. I was catching up. Just as I was catching up on my way to Gen Con, and I don't know, it was '90s. I mean, late '90s.
Mm-hmm.
I had a heart attack and died in a hospital, emergency room, and they brought me back around 3 times.
Wow.
Jeez.
And put a stent in me, and I felt great. I come to, I said, well, I want to go to Dragon Con. I'll go to Gen Con. I was going to Gen Con. I might have said Dragon Con. It was Gen Con. And they said, well, you can't go, man. And they showed me my face, and they'd use the pedals on me and stuff. Like 3 different times. They broke all the blood vessels in my eyes. So my eyes were solid red, deep red. All of it, the whole eye, deep red. And I looked at it, and I thought, well, I feel good. Just my eyes. I said, I can put a little costume on, and everybody think I'm in costume. I'm wearing contact lenses or something like that. You're not leaving a hospital, you idiot.
Oh, my God.
So I sent my son and daughter on. I said, that's paying my daughter's in college. I said, you better make some money because that's your money for college for this year, this fall. But then I made a decision, no matter what, I was going to paint traditionally because I believed in my heart that one day people would start collecting fantasy art, the original art, because collectors collect originals.
Yes.
And because what's used to collecting, if you've got the money, you want the real thing in your house. There's only one original. Mm-hmm. And I kept thinking they will collect this stuff because the more of an impact I saw that D&D had on the world, as I realized that more, I was still underestimating severely back then. But anyway.
Well, we're in the Renaissance now. Now it's crazy.
Yeah, it
blows my mind just how much it's changed.
I decided I would keep painting original art. I said, if nobody uses my art, that's okay. I want to paint original paintings. But then it slowly started picking up a little bit more. And I started figuring out ways to make a living. I was selling original paintings. I did some for myself, really good paintings. I might be buying one back tomorrow.
Oh, no kidding. Which one?
What are you trying to get back?
It's not one of the old ones. It's something I did in the 2000 something. I did a series called Places of Power. Mm-hmm. And it's one of those paintings. It was something I would do for myself. I really liked it. And then I don't know, but I sold all those paintings. Now I wish I had them back. And this one was sent back to me to retouch something. Mm-hmm. And I know the guy that owns this painting will never be seen by anybody. Oh. He has a big farm. He's a single man, lives up in Minnesota someplace, and he bought the painting. He buys art, but it's like stuck under his bed, stuck in the closet.
Oh,
Wow.
Well, this painting been
that
under
hurts.
his bed. Yeah, it's been under his bed for like a year.
I get
And,
not shown to the public, but at least put it on your wall,
No
man.
kidding.
Like, you know.
And so he sent it back for me to retouch. And then I told him when he first got it back, I've had it a couple months now. And I told him, I said, I wouldn't mind buying this one back. And at that time, he said, I don't know. But I got a letter from him 2 days ago, and he said he'd be interested in selling it again.
Oh,
If you
don't mind my
have to
asking.
buy- Huh?
I'm looking at him, Larry. Which one is it that you want back?
It's a girl. She's levitating on a stone. She's in a
Oh,
blue
yeah.
draper. That's a 24 by 30, 30 by 40-inch painting. It's a really big painting.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And it's got a lot of impact. The original, a lot more impact than the print. Just a picture.
Oh, no, that's great.
And so I think he gives 6,000, and I'm willing to pay him 8.
Nice.
Man.
But
I hope you get it
I
back,
don't
man.
want to sell it. I know I could resell it, but I will keep it because some of these, well, the prices of all fantasy art is going up. Original art is really going up and up and up, and it's sort of
Yes,
blowing
it
me
is.
away.
You got to find
Yeah.
that blacksmith is what you got to do.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Well, I heard that he sold some. His wife got divorced about 10, 15 years ago. And he gave her all the non-Dragonlance painting. He kept the Dragonlance paintings. She didn't know the difference.
Right. Of course.
And
Of course.
then I think some of them dribbled out. I do know that he had Death of Sturm.
Oh.
And I hadn't seen it since the 80s, since like 3 months after I painted it, you know.
Wow.
That was it. It's been years.
I can't believe you only had it for 3 months and it's
That's-
gone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
And I was in a convention in Florida, and this guy walks up to me. And I recognized him. I knew him because he was been part of White Wolf,
Mm-hmm.
and
Oh.
I did a couple of paintings
Jason
for
Carl,
them back
maybe?
in the day. He's sort of tall, slim. I think he used to have maybe reddish hair. He shaved his head off. Always a tall, slim guy with sharp
Huh.
nose.
Okay.
But anyway, he said, when's the last time you saw Death of Sturm? 20 years or I don't know. He said, would you like to see it? I said, how would I see it? He said, I own it now.
Huh.
And he bought it. It went up for auction online, and he
Mhm.
got it. He brought it in the next day to show it to me, and I realized I need to color correct my prints a bit because the original painting was better than the prints I was in. It was richer in color.
Hmm.
And but it was good to see it after all those
It's
years. It was
oils.
pristine shape. And he
Wow.
told me that's been at least probably 10 years ago.
Wow.
And I think he gave 14,000 for it then.
Wow.
And that's before the big collectors started. And I traded it for a sword.
Oh. Oh.
And
Man.
but it's just going crazy anymore. So I'm really hanging on. I want to paint for myself. I always wanted to do my own paintings.
Mm-hmm.
And the ones that people really liked was the ones I did for Dragon Magazine.
Mm-hmm.
And that's because they gave me free. All they said was this next month or whenever it was, if I was painting one 3 months ahead, they said, it'll be like The Witch and the Scarecrow.
Mm-hmm.
It said, it's an October issue. Just paint something Halloween-y or something. And that's it. I did one,
That's nice.
Aveline the Life Giver, one with a giant in the snow and girl
Mhm.
healing the guy. He said, this month's magazine will be about clerics. Do something with a cleric. And I'm like, wow, just wide open.
Nice.
So I did several of those, and of course, the ones of those I did sell, I sold the price because I didn't really want to part with them.
Mm-hmm.
And
Right.
the ones I've got now, I'm doing a lot better now. Everything's turned around, looking good. So I figure I'll die soon because that's how it goes.
Jeez.
Things are great. I love life. I got my hot rods paid for. Trying to paint my own stuff. Now I'll die.
That's how you know you're a country boy, right?
Took me this long to get here. Like, how often I was shit, But anyway,
so are you one of the first artists that ever made Drizzt?
Yeah. And here's the funny thing. I got that assignment, and that's when Keith and I had just quit working for TSR, and we had us a studio.
Mm-hmm.
And but we was in and out of TSR all the time then, because they gave us a schedule for the next year, what we was going to do anyway. They gave us that, and then we was freelancing at the same time. But we couldn't freelance for any gaming company for a year.
Okay.
And so I got the assignment of that book, Crystal Shard. And I said, what's a dark elf's name?
Drizzt.
No,
Drizzt.
the race.
Yeah, Drow. Or Drow.
Drow. Any other time I can say it, but I have to say it. I forget.
Oh, whenever I find nerds, they argue with pronunciation.
So I didn't know what a Drow was. And I asked Keith, I said, I got to pick this character. He's a Drow. He said, Keith was always our DM. He said, he's a monster. It's not a character. He said, the Drows in the monster manual. Mm-hmm. And I said, well, what do they look like? He said, I think they're a dark elf. I said, what do you mean dark elf? Are they black? Or what? What do you mean? Are they evil? He said, well, I think they're sort of evil. That's why they're in the monster manual. And so he got it out in the monster manual and said, a black elf. Whatever. That's the only description. Like a black elf. I said, is it like a black person? Or is it because he's, what is he? So went to the TSR. We've been at TSR the next day or two. They start asking around. Even the people that wrote the stuff, I don't know. They're black elves. I don't know.
It's a black elf.
Black person? I said, is he a black person elf? I said, that's sort of bad if you're making all black people evil in a monster manual.
Yep.
We can get in trouble for that shit, And I said, of course, it was written farther back, in time. I don't know if some idiot is that way. I said, it can't be that, can it? I don't know.
I don't.
So finally, I just.
Why didn't they give you an answer? That's so crazy.
Nobody gave me an answer. And so I painted him with a hood on. I painted him. He could be a black person, or he could be a dark skinned person, or something. I tried to hide him as much as I could.
Smart play.
And he was like 115 years old, something. So he was basically young,
right?
So I painted him that time, and then Clyde was the next one to paint him because Clyde was working at TSR then, so he got to do it. And Clyde painted him a more black skin, but like Aryan looking, and he painted him about the right age for that age elf. And then the next person painted was Jeff Easley, and Jeff never did study. He never studied D&D rules much at all. He just played a character, and that was it. So they said he's 115 years old, so Jeff painted him 115 years old, like a normal. So that's why you got that real old Drizzt on a few covers.
Oh, that explains so much. Thank you.
Yeah, it does. It opens your eyes. Said he's white haired and he's black and he's 115 years old. So he's like, okay, gotcha. So he painted white hair and 115 years old.
Oh my God. Because I remember looking at these books, I'm like, wait a minute.
Yeah, why is he so old looking?
He's got a mane of hair now. And it looks calculating.
Yeah. Yeah. So Keith and I saw that. I think we still work together, I think, in the studio. Anyway, we had a laugh about that. So, God, that's typical Jeff. He didn't ask anybody. He just, so I said, a black skin elf at 115 years old. Like, okay, or 120, whatever his age was.
These made some of my favorite stories tonight.
That's amazing.
Behind the scenes with that. That's great.
Do you have a personal
Jeff
favorite?
Was a character. Do what?
Do you have a personal favorite cover? Any personal work that you're like, that's the one? That's my personal.
All the ones I did back in D&D. One of my favorites. Well, I had a few favorites. So one of my kept was the Aveline, the Life Giver, the one with the giant and the guy in the snow.
Mm-hmm.
That painting, I was painting out of my gourd when I painted that. I was painting ahead of my time. I was looking at that painting the other day. I took it down and cleaned it, and looking at it, it's like, God, I don't know if I could paint that painting that well today.
Huh.
And I was like, I was probably 30 something.
Your composition is awesome in that one. And then
Everything
what I
about
truly
that
love, I love the anatomy of the giant looking over his shoulder, and he's in the most subtle atmospheric perspective.
Yeah.
And that's such a nice little touch right there. I love that.
Well, there's two things why I like that painting. One is when I was in college, I ran across when I was trying to find other artists besides abstract expressionists and stuff.
Yeah.
I ran across a book
that is.
Yeah. I ran across a book that had N.C. Wyeth. And I fell in love with N.C. Wyeth's work. It's Andrew Wyeth.
Yeah.
Father. And he did the Treasure Island illustration and all that stuff. Man, I love N.C. Wyeth. And I saw a painting he did, and it looked like pilgrims or something. I think it was N.C. Wyeth, if not, it's one of those the same period.
Mm-hmm.
But it was like these people dressed in black. They was on like a little bit of a ridge of snow. A few little trees that was dead. And it was a gray sky.
Mm-hmm.
So with this snow and the gray sky and these people in black clothing, really stark. And then that sky had a slit of yellow sky. The clouds was gray and there was a slit of yellow through them.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that. And so when I do this painting, I'll do a snow scene, and I want to use that piece of yellow sky. And I always want to paint a painting with that in it. Just that sky, just those grays with that yellow across there.
Mm-hmm.
And so I did that in that painting, and and everything seemed to click on the whole thing. The girl that posed there, I can't remember for sure. I think we had a studio right on the street level, and we was renting a place, and it had been a store sometimes, so it had big windows, and people might look in and see what it was doing. They think it's a clothing store or something, but it's just us and the painting. And me, Keith, and Bill Willingham, and I think I picked up a couple models, 2 or 3, just looking in the street, and I needed somebody to pose real quick, and I'd say, "You want to be in a painting? Come in here." I'd take a quick picture of them, take it a 1-hour photo of it, and have some reference. And I know she was about 18 years old. She had on jeans and a top, and we put a cape on her, and that was it.
Sure.
Then Keith modeled for the dead man.
Mm-hmm.
And he modeled for the giant.
Oh, that's awesome.
But that painting, like look at it, I was painting beyond my years. I was trying to find something that the other day, and there's a few little things, but I mean, I could make those same mistakes today here and there. But it was probably one of the best paintings I think I painted, and that's why I've never saw. Then there was a few there I wish I had back, and a couple of them I still do have. But right now I'm wanting to paint for myself, and the one I showed you with the waterfall and the dragon skull and the girl there,
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
a while ago, that's for me. When I did the drawing, my wife said, "You're not selling it. You're not going to sell that painting." I said, "Okay, so I'm doing it for myself." She was, and then I've got another one on the board ready to paint for myself. But I'm getting all these people want me to do these paintings for them, and I'm like, "Well, when am I ever going to paint for myself? I'm 71 freaking years old, and there's no guarantee I'll I'm in the years where you roll dice every year, see if you can live or not." And like playing
The worst kind of
your
Dungeons and
life's on the
Dragons.
line. Like, I got a critical hit. Oh my God, I'll be in the hospital after a year.
It's terrible.
Yeah, but But if I'm like some of my relatives, I can live into my 90s. I don't.
Mhm.
But anyway, I thought these people now the collectors will offer me more money and more money, and now I'm like, well, I'm never going to pay for myself. So I've turned over a new leaf. It's like I kept raising prices, and they kept going to those. So I'm still
Just keep going.
doing the
Why not?
paintings, and I'm like, I'm going to have to raise them to where if you want a painting of mine, you're going to have to pay some money because I'm running out of time. I want to
Yeah.
paint some of my own work.
I got you.
Now, I got 2 rules on doing a contract painting, though, which has worked well for me. It's like, it's got to be something I would like to paint, the subject matter. But don't art direct me, you know.
Sure.
So I'll ask you questions, and
I think
I'll
at this
show
point
you
you've more
sketches.
than earned the right to not be art directed.
So now when I'm doing a contract painting, I'm getting good money for it, and I enjoy it. And you get a better painting if I enjoy it. God.
Yeah.
And that's good. And then trying to work paintings for myself, work them in every once in a while.
You can always sense the passion of the artist if they actually were invested in what they were doing.
Yeah.
It really comes
You
through.
feel something like I do. The paintings I've done for myself, what few I've still got, my wife's kept. She just said it wouldn't sell at all. And so she saved me from selling some of them. And usually the reason I'd sell them is that just bills were due, college tuition due, stuff like that. Like, I got to sell a painting, man.
So, Larry, in this new era where D&D is so big, what's maybe somebody that's approached you to buy or has bought off you that surprised you? Like somebody you didn't even know there's in a D&D?
Well, there's been, I'm trying to think of different names. I can't think of some of the names. Well, the guy, Lucasfilm, is Joe, and then there's been a few other pastors, pretty big collectors. I can't remember their names now. That's the bad part. My memory is all visual memory.
Yeah.
I read a book. I understand the book. I can read books on science, I understand it. But I cannot quote you anything out of a book, okay? But I can remember things visually I studied as a child. I can still do today.
That's
if I
incredible.
can see how something is made, if I see its shape, I can draw it, paint it. And I realized earlier this year that I had never really studied waterfalls. And that painting I showed you with the waterfall in it,
yeah,
ago, the painting was basically done, but I painted that waterfall 7 times before.
Yeah, you did.
Because it wasn't looking right. And I realized, I've studied everything else. Rocks and the dirt on rocks and moss and trees. And even, if you know trees real well, you can name what type of trees these are.
Yeah.
And, but I got the waterfall and I just kept blowing the waterfall. So I went online, downloaded a whole bunch of pictures of waterfalls, and laid them out on the table and stared at them.
Yep.
And what I was looking for the repeating images, the repeating patterns.
Yeah,
everything is broken down. That's like, it's true. I'd seen this years ago. Read about it now, or documentaries. Everything is broken down into basically pixels, or let's first call it the tiniest bits. But there's repeating patterns in nature on everything.
Yeah.
Oh, sure, yeah.
And somehow when I was a kid, I could see that. And I wasn't conscious of it. And as I got older, started seeing, I became conscious of these patterns. Bark on trees, the way trees grow, weather. The way grass grows. All this kind of stuff. But I guess I'd never really sit down and studied a waterfall. Especially it's just a cool time of the year. I've never went out in wintertime and looked at water. And so after I studied those for a while, I put them away. We went and painted the waterfall. It worked.
Nice.
But I wish I'd done that the first time instead of painting 7 times.
Well,
So, what was the detail that you really were trying to nail?
Well, it's hard to describe. There are repeating patterns. I knew as the water falls, logic. I mean, if you stay that the gravity pulls it down, but as water, as the water more compact and colder, it sticks together more. So the water is heavier, so it's not going to have as much splash to it. But also at the same time, water does have splash to it, and also as the water falling down, the lighter, thinner water tends to be slower, so you get these upward-like movements at the same time. And and then there's mist, and then I started seeing these almost egg-type patterns, egg-shaped patterns appearing over and over and different. They weren't the same. Some were big, some were little, some were tiny, tiny. But I understood what was going on. And it stayed enough. And then I looked at the waterfalls. Also noticed the colors. I already knew mine, which was correct. And luckily it was correct. And finally it just sort of came together and clicked. Painted. That happens though,
just having to draw stuff, it makes you a student of the world. Like you end up picking up all sorts of random knowledge because you have to draw it.
Oh, you do. I know a kid told me one time, I want to be an artist. I don't have to know anything else. Oh, God. I've had to learn everything. You got to learn clouds. When it's going to rain, what does it look like? Everything else. Planets. You paint things on a planet, everything becoming. Once I got into it and was becoming an illustrator, it's like, God, I need to know everything. A nickel's worth about everything.
Yeah.
So I tried to do that. The things I liked best, I learned more than a nickel. Kept studying. Sure. Like with science and stuff, everything, the way things are broken down, the repeating patterns of nature, even when you get down to the smallest level, basic fundamental building blocks of life, of matter, it is still repeating. Cellular, being down to a cellular level, but beyond, a lot farther than cellular level, deeper than that. It's almost atomic level. There's repeating patterns that makes everything just about. And the more you learn, it's just a learning process. Visual, to me, it's been visual. So as you get older, I think your brain works just like a computer. I think in a computer, words don't take much space, but an image takes a lot more, space. I think it's that way with imagery. My brain is full of images, and I think it's used so my work disappearing.
Well, that's a proven thing. Psych calls it calcification. That your brain begins to hyper specialize in what you use it most often for. So that would make sense that your brain is now a repository of visual information.
It is. That's all it is. I remember my mom. She wanted to clean out her basement thing, and I had a lot of old art. She wanted to give it. She had to go to assisted. I found a poster I'd done, like when I was in the 4th grade or something. Oh my God. Probably the 4th grade. So, and in it, no, it might have been later. I don't know how old I was in 1957. Well, I was 9 years old. So, in that drawing, there's a 1957 convertible. And I could recognize it as being a 1957 convertible. And I'm like, and I know I didn't use reference like that. I didn't even think about getting a picture and drawing it, at that age. I had actually known what a 1957 Ford looked like.
Yeah.
And I was amazed that I did at that age. And that started making me think that people say, what is your gift or what? I think it was that I had a great visual memory.
Yeah.
I can remember, they say you can't remember a thing before you're 3 years old. Bullshit. I've described Sept to my mom when I was 2 years old.
Mm-hmm.
My second birthday, I can describe. I wasn't for sure what it was, but you know those old hand carts they had on railroads.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Those. Well, it was a hand cart. But it was all clowns. There's a clowns pushing the little hands down. If you rolled it, the clowns went up and down. It was real colorful.
Okay. Yeah.
And what amazed me, I was 2 years old, living in rural Kentucky. We didn't have a television. But I remember the colors, and I thought I knew what it was. And so, skip ahead 50 years, and I asked my mom, I said, for my second birthday, I said, was that a little railroad cart? And it was clowns and all. She said, yeah, how did you know that? I said, I remember it. I remember seeing it. So I can describe things to mom and so like that, where I was at, certain things and colors. I remember being on a couch which was very bright, like burgundy and silver flowers. And it just sort of blew my eyes away, bright. And I remember I was in Louisville, and I was probably around, wasn't hardly 2 yet, because I described the couch to her. She said, yeah, oh my God. We went to her sister-in-law's house, and that was the couch in there. She said it was very bright. She remembered it. So after the last few years, I've been thinking, people say, how do you make it up? And I was giving art class one day. I said, how do you know what you're going to? I said, well, I go to my little memory library, and I pull out my files of trees, and I look through my memory library, and I see an oak tree, and I draw an oak tree. If I'm going to do a rock, I go to my little memory file and pull out rocks and look in there, and there's rocks. And I think about rocks, and I draw a rock. Oh, and one of the students raised a hand and said, I don't even have a library card.
I think that's me.
And I was fascinated to find out that day, hardly any of them had that kind of memory.
Yeah.
I thought everybody did.
Or on other shows.
I just thought everybody did, yeah.
Yeah. Like I was talking about this the other day with another artist. I happen to be colorblind, but I don't see things whenever I imagine stuff. Like I could tell you all about it, what it's supposed to be, where it's arranged, details about it, information, but I don't see anything. So when I hear somebody describing what you're describing, this photographic kind of memory, it just blows my mind that that's a thing.
Yeah. Well, I remember when I was young, just getting down and looking at moss real close and seeing how the moss looked from standing up. It looked fuzzy and soft. Get down and look at each in detail how it was being made, what made it look soft and fuzzy. And I remembered it. So I guess that helps.
Yeah, it certainly does. That's incredible.
Modern education is led a lot by a psychologist no longer with us called Howard Gardner.
Yeah.
He says that all of us have 9 different intelligences in our heads in varying scales. So
I believe that.
So and then what's frustrating, they say that the regular school system really only tests
2 or 3
4 or 5 of them. Yeah.
Yep.
So your visual spatial intelligence is through the roof.
Yeah.
Whereas I barely speak a sliver of Spanish. So my linguistic intelligence is low. But my sister-in-law's so my sister-in-law's Colombian, and so hers is higher than mine.
God. Yeah. I still speak Kentucky. I was going to change a long time ago. I thought I'm going to get rid of my accent.
No.
And then what happened when I started traveling? This is right about the time I was getting rid of my accent. And people would always say every time I opened my mouth, "Where are you from?" Because they thought if I was doing the covers of Dragon D&D, I must live in New York City or something, And I say, Kentucky. And they're like, Kentucky? I said, well, I like your accent. And a lot of people kept saying that. I'm like, well, I don't like it. But that's what it is. And so finally I was at a convention in England. And they just want me to draw something right there while everybody watched. Had a big easel set up, and I was drawing and dragging. I was talking and drawing, and then all of a sudden, oh my God, I started listening to myself. It's like, there's a old techie talking just as hard as he could go, and I just stopped. I turned around and I said, I want to apologize to all you guys because there's people there from all over Europe, okay? and a lot of them barely could even speak English. And here I was talking just 90 miles a minute in Kentucky East. And as I try to say, I apologize. I'm from the United States. That's right. I speak American English, but I also have a Southern accent, so I don't even speak normal American English. You know, and one guy, he sort of stuck his hand up and he said, "That's okay." He said, I can understand you better than I can the damn English. Because this convention was close to Manchester, I think. Liverpool, heavy accents. I understand English there either, but they're so I can understand. Like they can understand Kentucky E's better than Liverpool and Manchester.
That's fantastic.
Heavy English accent. So I thought, the hell with it. I'm keeping my damn accent.
It's funny because earlier we were talking on the phone and I thought I'd kind of lost that accent, but as soon as you started talking, I found myself slipping back into it. You know, just back just so naturally.
Here's what happens, and I've seen this happen over and over. You take a northerner, and I'm one of them. You take a southerner and take him up north.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't change him hardly at all, unless he puts forth a great effort. Okay, now I know some dudes are like, I want to get rid of my accent first thing. Mm-hmm. But if you're not trying to get rid of your accent, you stay the same. You take a northerner and take him south, let him live 5 years. He's starting to sound southern. The southern accent sneaks in on people, you know?
It does.
It comes in.
It's a lazier way of talking. I know my little girl lived down the street. She was a daughter. And she was pure Wisconsin.
Oh, yeah.
And so she was up there one day, and I was sitting there at the kitchen table, and she was talking to my daughter. And she was talking about my daddy. And I looked around and said, "What'd you say?" She said, "My daddy." Your daddy. And I said, "You know what? You know how much energy you wasted saying my daddy?" I said, "Look at me. I can say my daddy without even moving my lips." So I looked at her and said, "My daddy." My daddy. My daddy. And she just rolled her eyes like, "Oh, stupid," you know. But I said, "You just waste too much energy." But I got angry a couple of times up there because I guess because I had a Southern accent, they felt free that Southerners are automatically stupid, you know. I know Southerners that's got worse accents than me, that's got mad about everything, physics, name it.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, I've got a degree, and I could have had a master's degree. But, and I've continued to learn. But, the point I was going to make. There you go. Idea just flew away. Words again. Those words just lost.
It's gone and good.
But yeah, the Southern accent is just a lazier way of speaking, and there's a lot of we can say it. This is what I had to get used to in Wisconsin too. We say something south, we can say one sentence, the exact same, but have 5 different meanings, you know.
Yep.
Whereas in Wisconsin and Northerners, they say exactly what they mean. There's no intonations. There's no, you know, this or that. It's just straight talking, like a newsreader.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas we say something like, about any sense, like, you want to go to town? The Wisconsin say, you want to go to town? Now down here, I'll go to town.
Yep.
Hey, that's saying I might be going, you know. Yeah, or you say, you want to go to town? You can say it even like, you want to town. That means there's meanness. You're going to get in trouble. Or
Yep.
then the same, like, there's a million ways you can say, do you want to go to town in the South? And it's all has different connotations, different meanings.
Mm-hmm.
In the North, it's pretty straightforward. If they're angry at you, you will know because they will speak loud and frown, you know. If they're not, they just sound like everything's angry, maybe. You know, it's like,
Awesome.
figure. But yeah, it was fun though.
I caught like this past month. I fell into Vogue would do interviews with any celebrity that was doing a press tour for whatever, and the bit is they hand the celebrity an iPad and it flips through the dialect and slang of their hometown.
Oh my God.
And then they'd have to explain the dialect from their own hometown. And it jumps from like Irish and Scottish celebrities to like celebrities from Alabama and Tennessee. And like,
neat.
Yeah,
it was great. It was great. One of them was Jennifer Lawrence's like, come hell and hope the creek don't rise. And like, that was that's crazy to explain. It was fantastic.
Yeah.
It was fantastic. Those are addictive.
Oh, there's a lot of those things. The South is full of them.
Oh yeah.
The thing of it is, I can't. If you have me to tell you something right now, I can't remember them. But when I'm talking, they'll come out
they'll just fall right out of you.
They just fall out. You know, like look at you like, what did you say? You know.
Oh yeah.
I have to interpret it for you.
My wife's from Chicago, and if I say catty corner, I'm wrong.
Yeah, catty corner.
It is catty corner.
Catty corner. Yep.
Yeah. See,
well, they say
Twitch.
Corner,
it's catty corner. Kitty corner's all wrong. Kitty corner's dumb.
Not right. Yeah, kitty corner is wrong.
See,
absolutely.
Larry says it's catty corner.
It is catty corner.
I'm putting that on a shirt. Larry says it's catty corner.
Here's something else I bring up to people, and it's like in the South when I was growing up, or this part of the South, your central area, the hilly country, like West Virginia, Kentucky, Tennessee.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The old people, like I said, when I was a kid, most of the old people who was living then were born in the 1800s. And a lot of them talked like they did when they were kids.
Mm-hmm.
And every single word that ended in O or O-W was pronounced with the E-R. Like potato.
Potato. Yep.
Tomato.
Yeah.
Tomato.
Yep.
Window. Winder. Pillow. Pillow.
Sound like that.
Willow tree. Willer tree. Everything. You cannot think of one word that ended in ER that was not pronounced. At the end of an O or an OW or something, it was pronounced ER. It always was. Of course, my mom, dad, they'd been around some, and they were the next generation, so they didn't do that. But the old people, they still said, "Why don't you take that pillar and go down there to that willow tree and take a nap? Getting on my nerves."
So Dad always slipped in an R in certain words, like "warsh" instead of "wash."
Yeah, warsh.
Of course,
go wash your face, boy.
Yep.
Filthy.
That's the weirdest things too. Like Grandpa used to say something.
Warsh.
Yep.
Yeah, warsh.
My mom doesn't as much now. Like she's dialed it back, but warsh is part of it.
I started thinking that we were pronouncing things wrong when I was about the 3rd, 4th grade. I was writing something about a chimney, you know, and I was writing and I spelled chimney because everybody pronounced it chimney, not a chimney. A chimney.
They added an L.
Yeah,
that's great.
And so I got to look at that in my textbook. It said chimney, and everybody I knew said chimney. So I didn't know how to spell it. So I asked the teacher. She even said chimney, but she told me the correct way to spell it.
Wow.
And so
this explains grammar school for us.
This fantastic. Clyde Caldwell, Jeff Easy was Kentucky, but he had no accent. And you ask him why? He said, because I watched TV my whole life long. I didn't associate with anybody. I learned to talk on TV accent.
Yeah.
Okay, so he had no accent. Clyde Caldwell was North Carolina. He had a heavy North Carolina Southern accent.
Mm-hmm.
And I was pretty average for Kentucky and stuff. But anyway, Jeff Butler, Clyde would come up with adding some of those R's in words and stuff like that, you know. And Butler would catch him on it, especially Diesel. Dave LaForce, who was a mapper. He just loved to get in digs on it. And he grew up around Chicago. So anyway, somebody moved Clyde's chair. So he comes walking in. They hit it. He walks in and looks around. Who moved my chair? And I knew what he's talking about. Jeff knew what he's talking about. And Butler, Jeff Butler, he's from Milwaukee. Grew up. He goes, chair? He said, yeah, somebody moved my chair. Hit it or something. Oh, he's busted. And then Diesel starts saying, cheer. He starts saying some other stuff that you would pronounce like hair is a here, things like that. Clyde was getting mad, and he said, it is cheer. Butler said, no, Clyde is pronounced chair. He said, no, it's not. And he looked at me, he said, Larry, so you're from the South, how's it pronounced? Well, I knew it's pronounced chair. I say chair. And I said, well, around home, some people say cheer, some people say chair. So I stayed middle of the road.
Oh,
so
yeah. Gotta play easy.
Butler got the dictionary out, going through that. He looked up, he said, there it is. See? I said, it's wrong. It's cheer. And that's how we left it.
It's like that one. Crick instead of creek.
Oh, yeah.
We say creek.
Yeah?
Do you don't say creek?
Yeah, we said crick.
Crick is a thing. Yeah.
We say creek.
Yeah.
All in Kentucky and Tennessee and stuff, we say creek. Now, the modern kids might say crick, but we always said creek.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's funny how much of this is bleeding over, because Dad was from Evansville. Yeah. And so, it's basically Kentucky, essentially, there at that point.
He said creek?
No, he said crick.
He did? Huh.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't meet anybody in the state of Kentucky that said crick up until about my kids' generation. Grew into a few that said crick.
Mm-hmm.
But all the natives that grew up around here, where their family's been here for generations, everybody said creek. And even on the news, if you watch the news, they talk about something in eastern Kentucky, they say creek. They say creek all the time. I think they've been told better not use the word crick, or they'll quit watching it.
Well, hold on. Larry, do you say roots or roots?
Oh, yeah.
I say root like roots in the ground? Roots?
Yeah, like tree roots.
Roots, yeah. R-O,
Okay.
Roots.
Yeah, we got ruts.
Yeah, we have
We
roots.
say roots. We say roots.
Man, somehow we dipped more southern. I don't know how that happened. That's so random.
It is. It's weird.
I don't know. I feel like some of where we are gets a bleed from Indiana.
Oh,
It
does. Well, you go back to like your parents' generation. A lot of people in Kentucky and Southern Indiana, even parts of Ohio, Tennessee, would all go north to Chicago to get jobs from the Depression all the way up to. Well, my parents lived through the Depression, but a lot of them went up north, and they carried the. And so words pop up. Some northern words sound southern, and some southern words sound. It's just, I don't know. But I watched a show one time when I was in Wisconsin. I was painting one night, and I had on the TV, on education TV, and they did this show about accents, like southern accent in the United States, and it was one of the neatest shows I'd ever seen. To the Scotch-Irish immigrants mainly. Most of the southern sound really comes from.
Makes sense.
We have a slower way of talking. We didn't talk as fast.
Kind of spills out of your mouth a little bit.
Yeah, and said that the people that live closer to land, lots of times they tend to they're not in such a hurry. They talk slower, and then they talk about the accent, and they said they'd found they were in Appalachia and some of this, and they said. We found an old man. This was 1981. The guy was probably 90, so he was born probably in the 1800s. And he was telling a story to his grandkids, and it was sitting on the front porch of an old house in eastern Kentucky. And he was recording. He was telling Jack and the Beanstalk. And they had subtitles because anybody from north of the Ohio River probably couldn't understand the word he said. I understand every word he said. And the way he's telling the story, I remember old people tell the story, they'd say, "Oh man, we walked down by the creek and we saw a skunk or a polecat."
Yep.
And just the way he'd talk, and then we up there in the ways and here and Hanner and
Yep.
over Hanner, and just all these words that I heard growing up, but they're not used anymore. My parents didn't even really use some of those words, but I understood everything he said, and I could see that somebody needs subtitles. It was, and I know my son-in-law grew up in Wisconsin.
Mm-hmm.
He come down to visit, and he was my wife's big family. We was all down there one time. Just talk about it. And he dropped a fork or something. But he noticed this being said before. He said, "Why do y'all say in the floor when you're dropping a fork on the floor?" And I said, "Well, that's what we've always said." But I said, probably goes back to when they. And I've had some relatives that lived here. Some long hunters came in early Kentucky was a state.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd say probably in the old days, old cabin, dirt floor, you dropped your fork, it stuck you in the floor. It didn't land on the floor, it stuck in the floor.
Oh, man. Wouldn't have even thought of that.
It started. There's always some kind of logic.
Well,
I made one. Go ahead.
Oh, no, that's okay. Go ahead and say what you're going to say there.
Well, I said, we said on the panel, all the art, they had all the old artists back together at GaryCon about a year ago, a big panel. I think it's 2 years ago. And we was all talking, and I was talking, and we was taking turns, talking something, and I said, and I wasn't paying attention to how I was speaking, I was totally relaxed. Probably had a couple of drinks, too. I said, well, back when I got hard, I was saying back when I got hired.
Right.
I said, well, back when I got hard. And Butler leaned over. Butler looked at me. He said, has it been that long, Larry? Look at this. Mage, it has. Okay, smart ass.
Oh, my God. That's so good.
So I said, back when I was hired. And someone was like, shook their head like, oh, I understand now. Back when I was hard. And like, well, he's so old, he hadn't been hard in time. But sometimes these southern words just come out. A southerner wouldn't have paid any attention.
Not
it's
a
like
bit.
saying the word.
Right, it just rolled out.
Yeah, it's like saying a word that has three meanings. They wouldn't know in the context that they knew what you was talking about.
Yeah.
But a northerner pronounces each word, so God, you better say it right.
That's fantastic. Well, I hate to cut the conversation here, but we've been beyond our normal time, and this is a wonderful conversation. I think we keep rolling for a couple hours even.
I probably had this phone in my ear and under my nose and everything else. But anyway,
it happened. You knocked out 2 hours like it was nothing. That was amazing.
Yeah, and I'll treasure this for a long time. I
can talk about old times and stuff all night long. I got stories you wouldn't believe. Stories on top of stories.
Man, I would love to hear more of those sometime. So I will say
so much
thank
for
you.
doing this, Larry. This was magical. Thank you.
Well, thank you. I enjoyed it. Really, you guys are a lot of fun.
Jeff said he enjoyed it.
That is a really wonderful honor. And if you want to check us out in the future, you can go to Twitch. I'll give you a link afterwards. And,
okay, do that.
We got a channel here. Every Monday we do a show. Next Monday, Levi is going to be joining me again. It's just going to be the two of us this time. We're going to do a whole segment on voice acting. So if you got some random stupid voices you want to make us do, and
it's just my own voice. That's it. It's a random stupid voice.
Yeah, so we'll dig in. Throw some curveballs, and we'll try a few things, see if we can make it funny. And we also have a YouTube channel that's got all of our past episodes on there. So if you guys are in the chat and you haven't seen all the old episodes, we got a lot of wonderful guests we've had on, and we're going to have some more in the future.
We've been very lucky, and you, some of the guests are in the chat right now. So thanks for coming on. And thank you so much, Larry. This is fantastic.
Well, I hope I didn't bore anybody to death.
Oh no, man. This is, I've been having a blast.
And if you bored anybody, I don't care.
Exactly.
I don't care.
I
Well,
could
awesome.
have sit and talk about my trips to Europe and museums and stuff, but who cares? I'd rather talk about real life
Yeah.
Well, real life is where it's at.
and the hardships. It makes you stronger.
Yeah.
Amen. Amen to that. All right. Well, we're going to go ahead and wrap it up there, folks. So
All right.
thank you for coming along.
Thank you so much, Larry.
Yeah, thank
All right.
you.
Thank
And
you.
we'll go ahead and sign
All right.
off.
All right.